boyfriend texts me and he's like, the police want to talk to you. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So today I am really tired, trying to switch my shift schedule back to third shift schedule. I have like a migraine, I think. It hurts really bad. So as you can tell from the title of this video, we are going to be talking about the guy that tried to break into my car at work. So we're just gonna jump right into the video. So this was almost like a year ago now. So I was working and I work in the back of the building, and this guy was in the back of the building and he shows me an item. He asked me if it is what the item is and I said yes, and he's like okay, and I said okay, and he's just staring at me, and he's staring at me like a deer in headlights, and I'm like, okay, can I help you? And he's like, yeah, I need to ring this up. And I'm like, oh, like you need to check out? And he's like, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. Well, so right then and there I was thinking like maybe he has a disability, and then he tells me he has more items that he had but he doesn't know where he placed them. Well, we find all the items that he had, and so I'm really thinking he has a disability, and we go up to the front of the building and I'm helping him, and he's like, oh, like you're really nice, you're really sweet. I'm like, oh, thank you. And he's like, yeah, like nobody else was helping me like you. Like he was really being nice towards me, and I still think he has a disability. So I take him up to the front and I start scanning his items for him because I didn't think he could do it. And I tell him the total and he's like, okay. And I said, okay. And he's just staring at me and like staring at me like a deer in headlights again. And I'm like, are you gonna pay for this? And he's all like, no, are you? And like legit question. And I said, no, like I just work here. Like why would I pay for your stuff? And he's like, right. And I said, right. So I'm like, what about the people that you came in with? Because I thought he came in with people that were the people that would come in and like help them shop. You know what I mean? When people have disabilities and they're older and they have a person that assists them to grocery stores or wherever they need to go to get groceries or clothes, you know, like a bill and all that stuff. Like they just take them basically on a field trip to the store and they assist them. So I was thinking about the people that I saw him with earlier. I'm like, what about those people? And he's like, right. So he walks around and goes out, but he walks out with a different guy and he puts up his hood. And I'm like thinking like, this is weird. I'm thinking like maybe he lied to me about having like a disability, or he's pretending to have one, or maybe he's on drugs, something. I see my manager, I print out his receipt and everything so I don't lose it. And I'm like, hey, I don't know what to do because this guy just walked out and he put his hood up and followed a different guy out. Like I don't know what's happening. I'm telling my manager this and she's all weirded out. So then I tell like the security guard, I tell her, she's like, yeah, no, I have like a weird feeling about this. And I said, you do? And she's like, yeah. And she walks away. And then the guy comes back in and he's like, are we good? And I said, yeah, we're good. But I don't know if you mean about the items that you were trying to purchase, but like those things still need to get purchased. And he's like, okay. And I said, okay. And he's like, but we're good, right? And I said, yeah. And he's like, okay, cool. And he walks away and I'm thinking like, what the fuck? So then I see the security guard and I tell her everything again, and she's like, I have a really bad feeling about him and I don't want you talking to him when you're alone or by yourself because I just have this really gut feeling, and like I'm normally never wrong about it, so I want you to stay away from him and I don't want you to go near him. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm thinking like, you know, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It was. But like me being naive and everything, I was like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. And I did. I just wasn't too concerned about it, you know? So I go back to the building. I let my manager know and she's like, okay. And then she goes back into the backpack of the building. So I'm in the back, she's in the backpack, like the only employee's back. So I'm working and then I see her come back out and she's like, you know that guy that you were telling me about? And I said, yeah. And she's like, well, he just went back there twice and we kicked him out back there twice, like out of the fire escape because he wouldn't leave. And I said, oh. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, that's weird. And she's like, yeah. So I continue working. My manager calls me up to the front of the building where the security cameras are. And I look at my coworker, well, my other manager, the woman, and I'm like, hey, is that about that guy? And she's like, yeah, it is. And I said, oh, okay. So I hurried up and went up there because I thought like maybe they called the police and I was just gonna give them like my statement on like how interaction went with him. And it's just my manager and he's all like, hey Shelby. And I said, hey, is it about that guy? And he's like, yeah. He's like, can you sit down? And I said, sure. And I just sit down like all dumb. And he's like, yeah, so I'm not trying to freak you out or anything, but I know that you're about to go to break soon and I don't want you walking to your car or anything, but I called you in the office because this guy that you were telling us about earlier, he's at your car now. And I said, oh? And he's like, yeah. And I was watching him on the camera, and he's been out there for like about an hour just trying to like get into your car, like trying all the doors and trying to open them. I'm like, oh, are we gonna call the police? And he's all like, yeah, I already did before you came down here, but I just want to let you know so you weren't gonna try going out there. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, do you want me to stay in here so like I can give my statement to them or like something? He's like, no, I think you'll be good. And I said, okay. So I went back to work. My boyfriend texts me and he's like, the police want to talk to you. So I go back up front and then I have to talk to the police officer. And he's like, well, we were trying to talk to him and everything. He doesn't seem like he like knows what's up. And I said, okay. And he's like, do you want to press charges? And I was like, if there's no scratches and he didn't break into my car, like, it's fine. Like, I didn't press charges because I really thought he was, like, he had a disability. Well, then, like, all the people that, like, work with me, they were telling me how he was telling the police officer that he was trying to get in because it was cold outside and he wanted to lay in my car. And then another thing that he said was that he was trying to get into the car so he can drive it to, like, a different place. And they're like, this isn't your car. And he's like, yeah, it is. So he was trying to jack my car, dude. I forgot to mention that he came back like an hour later to try again and get my car. He tried to steal my car. Yeah, so that's my story on the guy trying to like break into my car. So if you guys ever had this happen, comment down below if you ever had somebody try to break into your car and steal it and try to drive it all the way to a different place. Because that's what happened with me. And there was multiple cars in the parking lot, but for some reason he went to my car and only mine, so I don't really know. And I don't know if it's a coincidence that he was just talking to me for like an hour and like he was around my area for a while before he spoke to me, so I'm not really sure. I don't know. I do want to spread like awareness because there is kidnapping. I don't think I was gonna get kidnapped, but you never know. And like people will do lots of things, like Ted Bundy, he would pretend to have like a brace on and like pretend that he was her and have women or try to get women to help him. So I just want you guys to be aware, like anybody can pretend to be sick or have a disability or anything. And like this is like serious. So I really want you guys to be like aware of that stuff. Don't trust everybody, you know? Because if he said and asked me to help him with his car, I definitely would have. Because I really believed he had a disability. And after today, like, I'm never gonna believe anybody. And if I did, I would have like multiple people watch me and let everybody know around me what I'm doing, because I don't want to get kidnapped and I don't want any of you guys getting kidnapped. Adults can get kidnapped. Everybody can get kidnapped. Anybody could. Any gender. But I do want you guys to be aware. Like, this video is not to poke fun of anybody, but it's more of being like aware of your surroundings and trusting people. Like, you can't trust anybody or everybody. You can't trust everybody. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.